Please sit down. Verse number 5. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. So, the reason you are requesting the Buddhas to give the teaching is because you have suffering. And you have suffering and you have negative emotions because of ignorance. And the antidote and counterforce to ignorance is wisdom. And therefore you are requesting the enlightened beings, here in this case Buddha, to give the teaching on wisdom. Okay? Next. Next is requesting them not to pass away, not to die. We feel very sad when some good people die, right? Important people die. So therefore it is also important to make this request, please stay as long as possible. Now how does this function? For example, you might have seen Tibetans and others making many long life offerings to His Holiness Dalai Lama, requesting him to stay long. How does this work? This looks like hypocrisy, huh? Some people requesting and then others saying, yes, I will live long. People who don't understand this, they might think this is hypocrisy. So how do you think this functions? One possible reason which I think is when the students and followers request the teacher to live long, that shows the harmony, the wonderful relationship between the teacher and the student. The students are saying, just like the children, requesting the parents to be healthy. Okay? So when you make such a request, the teacher also knows that yes, there is a need for me. I am of some benefit to them. So therefore it is important for me to take good care of my life, stay long. See, he feels like staying long. Now in the case of those highly spiritually realized beings, they may have the power to, prolong their life. All right? Now even in the case of those with less spiritual realization, as I already said, they may at least be happy that I am of some benefit. So therefore they will probably take good care of their health, and because they have this happiness and good spiritual bond, this may contribute to the long life of the teacher. Then of course on those occasions we also make a lot of prayers. So sometimes the prayers also answered, not from a heavenly God, but normally, you become what you wish, in a way. You get what you want, in a way, right? So that way, it may be of some benefit. Now, for example, if there is a discord, no harmony between the teacher and the student, then probably the students also don't want to see the teacher also don't want to see the student, you see. So even in the family, we have this problem, now there's no point for me to live. I want to die, we say this. But when there is a good harmony between the parents and the children, or the teachers and student, then they actually, because of this harmony, good relationship, it helps people live longer, right? So that is on the ordinary level. Then on the more mysterious level, like we believe that people like His Holiness Dalai Lama, they are in great demand, not only in the human realm, they are in demand in other realms also. So there may be many invisible, powerful forces who may be saying, these human beings, they're not going to do anything good, Why you're wasting time here? Come to my, come to the heavenly place, Yeah, so during the long life prayer, have you seen that when we make the long life prayer, we also make a dummy of His Holiness, And then these 5-6 dakinis come, Then they come with this silk, different colored silk robes, requesting His Holiness to come. Then you see the request from the human beings, and then they accept that request, and then they take the dummy and go away. So we are kind of fooling them or whatever, I mean, this is a kind of symbol, a gesture, but it has a lot of meaning also, right? And I've seen, families where if the husband and wife are in good relationship, for example, if the husband is working in an office, wife is looking after kids in the home, then if there's a good relationship, as soon as the office work finishes, the husband will quickly go to the home, because realizing that my beloved wife is waiting, my beloved children are waiting, so there's such a good rapport, that contributes to their health and long life. Now, if there's no good harmony, then the husband will not come back home quickly. He'll just move around in Bangalore Ganj, looking here, talking to strangers, people, then go very late. And when we reach home, the wife is already very angry, I thought your office finishes at 5, no? How come you come so late? Then he will start telling the lie, maybe I met friend, I could not finish my work, whatever, So he'll do all the excuses. So I think this is how things work. If there's a good harmony, then there will be health, and it will contribute to a long life also. So therefore, it is important to also request them to live long. Ordinarily also, don't get surprised. Ordinarily also we say, okay, take care, live long, be healthy. That's what we say. That's a long life offering is something like that. All right? So, therefore, now you are saying, with folded hands I beseech the conquerors, the Buddhas, who wish to pass away because they have more important jobs in some other place, to please remain for countless eons. Countless eons they may not be able to stay, but requesting to live as long as possible and not to leave the world in darkness. It's really like when a great person goes, it's really like leaving us in the darkness, There's no shortage of miscreants, people who want to bomb and kill and divide, but there are very few people who want to make the world united, happy, peaceful. So with the passing away of one such person, it's a great loss, right? Okay. Next is the fourth branch is dedicating your virtuous practices for the benefit of others. Thus, by the virtue collected through all that I have done, may the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. So this is how you dedicate. Dedication is very, very important. Dedication is like depositing your money in the bank. In many countries, even if you deposit money in the bank, you don't get much interest, right? In some countries, you get good rate, good interest, and also hopefully it is more safe than keeping it in your room, right? So anyway, the purpose is whenever you do something good, as soon as possible, dedicate it. And it is said that if you dedicate it and then the fruit of that virtuous practice is not lost, if you don't dedicate it, then you do something very good, next moment you get angry, and whatever you've done before may be destroyed. Okay, dedicate it. May this become a cause to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. It is dedication. Dedicate it. Even if you do 1 hour's practice, 1 day practice, whatever, at the end, dedicate it. Then it will be there. Okay? Thus, by the virtue collected through all that I have done, may the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. I mean, this is, even otherwise, this is so good. You are thinking about, you're wishing that others' suffering, others' pain go away. It's such a wonderful thinking, right? And that is, not totally useless. If you think that your pain and suffering also go away, it makes difference. It makes difference because of the mental attitude. And much of the suffering we experience in the world is how you see things, your mental attitude. Okay? And then he's saying, now how he is doing the dedication. May I be the doctor, the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. See, this is his dedication. So now, if possible, not only say, may I be the doctor, but you should also become a doctor. Or maybe a nurse, or maybe you can't become a medicine, but you're imagining that you become everything that is good in healing other people. So therefore, in our actual life also, we should learn those arts. Those arts, even if you don't become a professional doctor, but you can learn many arts by which you can help sick people. There are many things that you can learn. For example, what kind of food you should be eating, what kind of proper exercise you should be doing, what kind of proper yoga you should be doing. So many good things that you can learn properly. I am saying properly because these days there are so many who teaches yoga, and I'm not so sure. Because you're playing with your body, so unless you do it properly, I'm not so sure. So there are many things you can do. May a rain of food and drink descend to clear away the pain of thirst and hunger, and during the aeon of famine, may I myself change into food and drink. See, almost like you're talking about impossible things. But this is expressing your wish, May a rain of food and drink come down to clear away the pain of thirst and hunger. So this is prayer, and prayer alone is not enough. You should, as much as possible, help those that are less privileged. And you can do that. And I think most of you are here are very rich. No? Are you all very rich? Yes. Inside, no, I'm not saying, don't tell me this, this diplomatic answer. Somebody very beautifully said, if you have some cases in your pocket and some changes on a plate, you are among those rich people. I mean, look at the whole human population, 8 billion, out of which majority are really poor, very poor, much poorer than you, I can imagine. So who is rich is not only the heart, but also in terms of actual material belongings. I think you are relatively rich. Don't worry, I'm not asking for your money. I'm simply, encouraging you to help those who are really in need. And don't, instead of just squandering your money. But don't, I'm not saying that you just give to anybody who asking for money, no. Make sure that you do something for somebody's education, make sure you do something for somebody's health, or somebody who is hungry, nothing to eat, all those things. May I become an inexhaustible treasure, you see, inexhaustible treasure, if that is possible, because there is no limit to the need of the people, So if you become an inexhaustible treasure, then they can always take it from you, whatever they need. For those who are poor and destitute, may I turn into all things they could need and be placed close beside them. I mean, I sometimes, things may not be as easy as I think, but sometimes I really feel sad because those people who are called leaders and who have the power, in many cases, they are really not doing much. They are always in association with the people in the higher strata of the society, and then talk big about the country, this, that, and then poor, destitute people, still there is no light, still there is no school, still there is no road. Many places in different countries, still there is the situation. So in some of these, remote areas, it is actually very easy to help. To start a school is not that expensive. You see? To make a road is not that expensive, So it is possible to do things. Even on a very small scale, you do many things, but it is not happening, or not happening as we expect. So that's why the poor people remain poor, and rich people become richer and richer. The world's resources are now enjoyed and used only by, I think, around 11% of the so-called rich population. You see? Right? I mean, this is not good. So therefore, all of us should make effort to come up with some project which will empower those people. Not just giving money, but empower those people in education, in skill, life skills, many things you can teach. Without any sense of loss, I shall give up my body and enjoyments, as well as all my virtues of the 3 times, for the sake of benefiting. Okay, now this verse is talking about training your mind. Training your mind. This topic is training your mind. Now, in order to actually cultivate bodhicitta in your mind, then the first thing that you need to do is stop, discourage self-cherishing attitude, which we discussed earlier. The antidote, the negative counterforce for bodhicitta is self-cherishing attitude. So now, in order to stop that self-cherishing attitude, we need to train our mind. Train our mind, you hear so many times about training the mind, training the mind. Training the mind primarily means training the mind in developing bodhicitta. Training the mind in cultivating wisdom, understanding emptiness. Now, in order to do that, there are many different processes. So next time if you get time, then you should read this small text, not very heavy, small text, called 7 Points of Mind Training. How many of you read that text? 7 Points of Mind Training. You read it? You also read it? Amazing text. Not very long, but very, has so many punchlines there, So training the mind. So training the mind, basically, here you should just understand this. Training the mind means basically training the mind in conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. You know the conventional mind, conventional bodhicitta. What is conventional bodhicitta? Huh? Yeah, conventional bodhicitta means bodhicitta, same. Ultimate bodhicitta means wisdom understanding, not shunyata, wisdom understanding emptiness. Bodhicitta, when we say citta, it's mind, wisdom understanding emptiness. Good students. Ultimate bodhicitta. So training the mind, whenever you hear the word training the mind, it is primarily training these two minds. Okay? Now, as I already said, in order to cultivate that bodhicitta in your mind, the first thing is train your mind. Now, training your mind means to stop cultivation of self-cherishing attitude. Stop this clinging to yourself alone. So therefore, it's important first to train your mind. Now, training the mind primarily means to stop this self-cherishing attitude and develop the mind which is beneficial to others. Now, in order to develop this mind which is beneficial to others, you need to give up these three objects. Give up these three objects based on which you develop that self-cherishing attitude. Three objects. Three objects means three object means, now let us read verse 11. Without any sense of loss, I shall give up my body. That is one object. Out of the three bases in whose relation we develop self-cherishing attitude, one is your body. Second is enjoyment, means your wealth, your material possessions. And third is virtues. Virtues that you earn. For example, even if you do something, you might dedicate that fruit of that virtue for your long life, for your name, for your fame. So again, you can see there is grasping, self-cherishing attitude, right? So now here you are saying that ordinarily you develop this self-cherishing attitude with reference to your body, to your wealth, and to good things that you do. But now, without any sense of loss, without any sense of grasping, I will give up my body, enjoyment, as well as all my virtues of three times for the sake of benefit others. Okay. Out of this, the primary basis of their self-grasping is your body. Because you tend to see this body as yourself or your possession. And in order to have happiness for this life or next life, you end up running hither and thither for collection of wealth or good things. And therefore, you have strong craving and grasping. Now we need to cut that craving and grasping. Okay. Similarly, just like this body, you also develop that grasping in terms of your food, in terms of your clothing, and similarly the good things that you have done in the three times, past, present, and future. So now instead of developing that self-grasping, now dedicate it for the benefit of all sentient beings. My body is for others, my wealth is for others. And good things that I do, I dedicate the virtue for the benefit of others. Why others? Why others all the time? Because as His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, if you want to be selfish, be wisely selfish. Be wisely selfish means our ordinary way of being selfish is stupid way of being selfish. You think just about yourself alone. I'm not saying you don't think about yourself. You are thinking only about yourself. That is wrong. And completely forget the need of others. That is wrong. That is the stupid way of being selfish. The wise and good way of being selfish is think about others' benefit. And you will not be the loser. You will be the one who will get more benefit. His Holiness normally gives an example. For example, if somebody comes with a knife saying that I have to chop either one of your one finger or all the all the 9 fingers. Out of the 10 fingers, either I have to chop 1 or 9. There is no other choice, no other alternative. What would you do? Just to protect 1 finger, will you let other 9 fingers being chopped? No. You will let that 1 finger chopped to save 9 fingers. Right? So similarly, when you compare yourself to the others, the rest are countless. Rest are many. And you, however important you are just one. Right? You are just one. And not only that, you are very much dependent upon those majority also. If this majority are happy, you will also be happy. Majority are in turmoil, suffering. I don't think you alone can enjoy. Right? And then, of course, there is this very close connection. The others are almost like part of your body. So it is wrong to think that it's not my responsibility to help others, because the others will help themselves. Who am I to help them? When you say this, you are not seeing the connection. Like, for example, your hand and your leg, your hands and legs, they are also separate. But when there is a problem in the leg, the hand has to go down to give a massage. Right? Hand is not leg is not hand, but because of their connection, they have to help each other. Your leg carries your hand. When you walk down to McLeodganj, you should thank your leg. It is carrying your head, hand, and everything. Right? And it's actually working very hard on the ground, And then if the leg is in trouble, about to fall, then you need to stretch your hand and balance yourself, hand will go there. So like the rest of the beings are, very, very closely connected to you. Then, of course, when we talk about Buddhist practice, you can't do any Buddhist practice without taking into consideration the needs of others. As I said the other day, you cannot develop compassion without the others. You cannot develop loving kindness without others. You can't practice patience without others. Those who bother us, trouble us, looks like they are very negative, but it is them which gives us an opportunity to practice patience. Right? Right? That's one thing. Then the second thing is, of all people, of all sentient beings, why should you take care of yourself alone? Of all people, why should you take care of yourself alone? Why not others? And you take care of yourself not because you are special, not because you are a professor, not because you are a geshe or a singer or a dancer. Right? At the end of the day, the reason that you take care of yourself is because you want happiness, do not want suffering. Similarly, the others also want happiness, do not want suffering. So their happiness is much more important than yourself. You're just one person. Right? So that is the way we need to think. And also the result of such positive thinking is, the more you think about yourself alone, the more you confine yourself, the more you develop a restrictive or constricted mind, the more you develop narrow-mindedness. And because of this narrow-mindedness, you're prone to all kinds of sicknesses, as I said the other day, including heart attack. It is now scientifically proved. The more you open up, the more you think about others. This is how mind functions, you see. If you just keep on thinking, counting your misfortune all the time, I've met such people. Whenever you meet them, they always retell the story. That 20 years back, I had an accident, I went to hospital, I had no money, I had this problem. There are some people who have this habit of telling that same story again and again, reliving that unfortunate situation. That is not good, right? So it is not just you, there are so many people who are suffering. And in a way, what you're suffering, if you compare with others, is negligible, is nothing. Imagine right now there are people who have nothing to eat, there are people who are caught between crossfiring, who are experiencing famine, who are suffering from a fatal, disease or sickness. How many hundreds and millions are there? So comparing to that, we are lucky. Again, you are rich. Again, you are lucky. So it's not enough to say that I'm lucky. By appreciating what you have right now, your material possession, your health, whatever you have, don't just become arrogant, thinking that I'm healthy, I have some money, then go around, this is the time to just wear. But now you use this ability, this capacity to encourage others, to help others. That's what I'm supposed to be doing here. Although you may not need any encouragement, actually, you should give me more encouragement. Right? So that's the thing. So that is how you make your life meaningful. And I'm honestly telling you, many of you may not know me before, okay? Maybe just few know me. I'm not that famous, anything. Only few people know me. I am not a great practitioner. Okay, I'm not a highly realized being. The only thing I did is I read, of course, some books. I've been doing this at a very young age and still reading. That's kind of my passion. So I have some things to say, that's all. But when I share this with sincere motivation, the words are also coming from my mouth, but it's the teaching of the Buddha, teaching of Shantideva. I admire their teaching. I admire His Holiness teaching. So I repeat it, you see. Just by repeating it, share it to other people. Then, of course, because of age, you also have some experience. So when I share it to those limited people, online teachings and others, I'm telling you, I'm happily telling you this, not to advertise myself, but it is important to tell the fact. When I stopped translating for His Holiness, because he wanted me to become the director of the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives. So then I thought, okay, now, I don't have a big, huge responsibility except that library. So the job is 9 to 5. So after 5, there is a lot of work, lot of time. And then Saturdays and Sundays, and then there are other holidays, a lot of time. And my expertise is translating. I never got a proper time to translate books. So I thought, now I will, read more scriptures, holy scriptures, and translate them, things like that. Then luckily, unluckily, people started coming. Geshe, please come to Israel, please come to, this place, that place, give teaching, talks. And then that kept on increasing until thanks to the COVID, When the COVID came, then I managed to, at least 2 years, I was able to concentrate on something. So the point that I'm making is, so I was compelled to share the little that I know online or otherwise. Now because of this online thing, many of my, earlier when I give a talk, then finish, I tell people, no use to give this, it was a nonsense, that I shared. So no use, I didn't bother, But because of this technological benefit, people started sharing it. And then number of people came to me that your talk was useful, beneficial. Then I got some little bit boldness. Then I said, okay, if it is useful, why not, keep it. Then I started keeping it. Now people have more access to some of my talks and teachings. And then now, at least among the Tibetan community, I met a number of people who I never met before. When they see me, they're so happy. Geshe, I'm seeing you. I've been listening to your teaching. I experienced depression. By listening to your teaching, my depression gone, things like that, you see. So by saying this, I'm not talking about my greatness. All I'm saying is these teachings are beneficial. These teachings are beneficial. And I'm an eyewitness to it. You see. So you should also share this. And His Holiness Dalai Lama always says, to share these good instructions, the teachings, you don't have to sit on a throne. You see. In discussion, in exchanges, you share your experience. Right? It's very important. So the point I'm making is, much of the problem that we are experiencing in our life is because we don't know how to think, how to respond to challenges, sufferings and problems. When you know it, you can do away with many of your problems, including depression, loneliness, whatever. That's what I'm saying. Right? So we are not wasting time here. Okay? It's important to know this. Otherwise, people might think, okay, Buddhism is talking about nirvana enlightenment, which is, of course, very, very difficult. So, meanwhile, what am I going to get? I was asked this question one time, long before I was, before working with His Holiness's office, I was working in Tibet House. I worked in Tibet House in New Delhi for 2.5 years. So there was a gentleman, Indian gentleman, who was working in the American Library of Congress. So because of his work, he said, can you give me some, explanation about Buddhism and things like that? He was the only person. So I said, okay, after my work, please come. So we used to sit outside in the little garden, sit there, and I would explain something. And then one day he said, since you are a monk, you have been practicing Buddhism, you must have developed some very high realizations. So can you share that high realization to me? I was dumbfounded. I have nothing to share. But my mind is a little bit quick, So then I thought, okay, when you talk about realization, if you're talking about opening a third eye, or flying in the space, or making myself disappear, I have none of these things. But still, I have some realization. Then he must be expecting something extraordinary. Then I said, my realization is, I don't kill. My realization is, I don't steal. This is important. So my answer, I think, is very important for you also to know. And the other day I said, if you reduce your negative emotions a little bit, that is a miracle. Didn't I say that? It's a miracle, you see. You have realizations. You have realizations. I mean, imagine, you might think that my not killing is not a big deal, but imagine, on a global scale, if nobody kills, that's heaven. If nobody steals, there's heaven. Nobody exploits, nobody, bullies each other. It's heaven. So that is a realization. And you should be happy, appreciate that you all have this. Many good things you have. But still you need to become better. There's no limit to, doing good things, okay? Now the reason why you should give, why should you give your body, your wealth, and your good deeds to others? Okay? The reason, now he's using the reason. The reason is, by giving up all, sorrow is transcended. And my mind will realize the sorrowless state. It is best that I now give everything to all beings in the same way as I shall at death. So whether you like it or not, at time of death, you have to give up everything. So why not you start giving things right now when you have the choice, when you can make the decision? Now, for example, he is using this reason by saying that it is by giving up these three bases of grasping that one is able to get liberated. Sorrow is transcended means liberation. It's by giving up all these three that we mentioned, you achieve liberation. Liberation means transcendence of suffering. Liberation. Okay? And my mind will realize the sorrowless state. Meaning that by giving up these three objects of self-grasping, I will be able to follow the teaching of the Buddha, get ordained, and then gradually you reach that sorrowless state, which is the state of nirvana or state of enlightenment. Okay? And then he's saying, it is best that I give up everything to all beings now, when I can do this by my own choice, when nobody is forcing me. Now when you're dying, and it's definite that you're going to die, at that time you say, okay, I give up everything. What else you can do? And not only that, then unfortunately sometimes relatives and friends, they fight over the wealth that you left behind, right? So therefore, in terms of hoarding, having a lot of wealth, Nagarjuna in his teaching text called Letter to the Friend, there he gives an example by saying that the king of Nagas, basically means king of snakes. The king of Naga has five heads. So normally when you see the picture of Nagarjuna, he's behind him there is this five hooded kind of head of snake is there. So the king of Naga is said to have 5 heads. The ordinary snakes have only 1 head. So comparatively, the king really looks grand, magnificent, 5 heads. Right? So like that, when you have more relatives and friends, more wealth, 5-6 cars, now some of these rich people, unbelievable. Some of them have 100 cars, 50 cars. I occasionally read all these things, who has how many cars, what kind of cars. Some of them have over 100. Imagine, what are you going to do with it? There's no limit to greed. Anyway, so comparing to those who don't have anything, you're rich, you have many relatives, many friends, a lot of money, things like that. It looks good, like the king of snake. But the problem is, in the case of the king of snake, because he has 5 heads, this head may be healthy today, this may be sick, probably having a migraine, right? So when you have 5 heads, one may be okay, one may be sick, one is not functioning, not thinking, whatever, right? The one which has only 1 head, if it is sick, that is it. Otherwise, it's just like one. So nothing comes value free. You think you are fine because you have a lot of wealth, a lot of friends, a lot of relatives, a lot of money, things like that. But it comes with every experience of happiness and pleasure, there is a possibility to experience the other side, suffering, If you have like 20 relatives, most of them are happy, healthy, but one dies today. Then you again suffer, you see, like that. So there's no guarantee that the more you have, the more you will be happier. Okay? Now, especially, as we already discussed, your grasping to your body is even stronger than your grasping to your wealth. Grasping is useless. Of course, you take care of your body. You take good care of your body, but grasping is useless. Right? Having given this body up for the pleasure of all living beings by killing, abusing, and beating it, may they always do as they please. Although they may play with my body and make it a source of jest and reproach, because I have given it up to them, what is the use of holding it dear? Therefore, I shall let them do anything to it that does not cause them any harm. Now, this is the point. You are not stupid. You are not saying that, please enslave me, do whatever you want. You are not saying that. So, therefore, he is saying, therefore, I shall let them do anything to it that does not cause them any harm. So, giving up your body means serving other people, right? Not in a literal sense. Okay? Because if you, in a literal sense, you give your body to anybody, then those anybody are more stupid than you, right? So instead of able to get benefit from your body, it will harm them, you see. So your body is to be dedicated in the service of others. That is the main point. If in those who encounter me a faithful or an angry thought arises, may that eternally become the source for fulfilling all their wishes. May all who say bad things to me or cause me any other harm, and those who mock and insult me, have the fortune to fully awaken. So this is dedicating your body. Dedicating your body. The most important thing is changing your mental attitude. Normally when some people say bad things to you, you get very angry. You get upset. Now he is saying don't get upset. If they are saying something to you which is true, if they are saying something bad to you which is true, then you should see them as your teacher, because they are highlighting your mistakes. You should own that mistake and then improve. Don't get angry. That's what the good teachers do. The good teachers will highlight your faults. The good teachers are not there to praise you, talk all the good things about you, how smart you are, how good you are, how intelligent you are. That's not the purpose. There is a story of a Tibetan student who requested his teacher to give a teaching. Then the teacher said, "Are you sure you want to receive teaching from me?" He said, "Yes, I want to receive teaching from you. I have nothing to teach except highlighting your faults. I have nothing to say except highlighting your faults. Now, if you are ready to listen to that, then stay." The problem is nobody wants to listen to their faults. In public, of course not. Even in private, they will not enjoy it, you see. So therefore, the purpose of Dharma practice is to recognize your shortcomings, your faults, and do away those shortcomings. That's the purpose, right? That's the purpose. So therefore, when somebody says bad things to you, and if it turns out to be true, accept it, acknowledge it, and try to improve. If it turns out to be something that is completely untrue, why bother? Why bother? Let them say. If people say you are a Buddha, you will not become Buddha. If people say you are a dog, you don't have to bark, right? So the problem, one problem in our life is we try to live our life in accordance with what other people think, If I wear my clothes like this, what they will think? If I walk like this, how they will think? If I smile in this way, what other people will think, In Hindi में बोलता है ना, अपने आप को कठपुतली बना देता हम लोग. You make yourself a toy, puppet to be played by others. You're not a toy. You are thinking, living human being. So don't dance at the tune of others. Right? You make your decisions. Then the next point is next point is dedicating the fruit of your mind training to benefit others. Dedicating the fruit of your mind training to benefit others. Verse number 18. May I be a protector for those without one, a guide for all travelers on the way. May I be a bridge, a boat, and a ship, depending upon how big the water is. If it's a small water, bridge is okay. Little bit bigger, a boat. Even bigger than a ship. Okay? So meaning that depending upon different people's problems and difficulties, whether they have supporters or not supporters, may I become a protector. Wonderful. And similarly, may I be an island for those who seek one, and a lamp for those desiring light. So you can, while you can aspire all these good things, you can also practice it. For example, in my case, one small practice that I do is, for example, when I go to some other country or some market and things like that, I'm very fond of buying flashlight, small flashlight and small, lamps and things like that, and nice pens. Then and books. I'm very fond of reading books. So I buy those and give it to others. This I do in accordance with the teaching of the Buddha, because Buddha had two man disciples, Shariputra and Mangalputra. Shariputra is said to be, somebody who is extremely intelligent, sharp. And it said in his past life, he became so sharp in this life because in the past life he, gave the gift of needle and thread. Needle and thread. Needle and thread is to sew what is falling apart. Be it in the society, be it your clothes. Our job is to mend those that are falling apart. So like the sharpness of the needle is very sharp, right? So like that, whatever be the case, these are very good. These gifts are like pen and nice books. And I already ordered a bunch of books quite recently. I'm waiting for them. I don't expect one book from me, okay? I'm joking. So whenever there is a need, I give it. Not just Buddhist books, some other books, because I'm fond of reading books, so I come across some very, very good books. Books written by some of the people who, suffered so much in the concentration camp, things like that. So it's based on real life experience, what helps you, what is not helping you, So things like that. So that's what he's saying. That is what he's saying here. May I be an island for those who seek one, and a lamp for those desiring light. May I be a bed for all who wish to rest, and a slave for all who want a slave. Slave, I don't know, right word or not. May I be a wishing jewel, a magic vase or vase, powerful mantras and great medicine. May I become a wish-fulfilling tree and a cow of plenty for the world. So this wish-fulfilling tree, cow of plenty, these are mentioned in the ancient Buddhist text. There is a tree to which you pray, your wishes are fulfilled. There is a precious jewel, you pray, your wishes are fulfilled. There is a magic pot or vase, through which you can get a lot of wealth. So there are certain powerful mantras to chant by which you can increase your wealth. So you are imagining you are those. Just like space and the great elements such as earth may always support the lives of all the boundless creatures. So this is beautiful. Almost similar kind of words is found in Nagarjuna's precious garland. So this is very beautiful, very impactful. Others are wonderful, but more like imagination. But this one is just like space and the great elements. That is the earth, water, fire, wind, and space, 5 elements. Now, space gives room for everybody to make things, to move around, right? And 5 elements, we are basically made of 5 elements, without which we cannot survive. Now, for example, take the example of sun. The sun gives light to all of us. I don't know since how many years, but the sun never asked us to thank him or thank her. Sun is man or women? Huh? Depends on the language, yes. In Indian system of thinking, sun is male, moon is female, because of their nature, So anyway, that's not important. What is important is these elements, this wind, this air, water, ground. The ground, for example, has been supporting us for countless lives, but they are never asking anything from us, and we are mistreating them in actually the earth. We are destroying the environment and so forth, right? And we will suffer, of course, but the earth is not saying anything. So we should be like that. This is actually very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. When it comes to helping others, he is basically saying, when it comes to helping others, it is your responsibility. It is good for you. Therefore do it. That's what he's saying. So don't expect thank you from others when you do something good. I once read a scripture where the teacher says, I give so many teachings to so many people, but I never even expected a thank you from them. Forget about expecting money, wealth, name, fame. He said, I did not expect even a thank you. And the reason is, he said, I did not even expect a thank you from them because there is nobody who is not suffering. There's nobody who has no problem. They have problem, they have suffering. So it is just wonderful that I'm able to share a little bit. What can I expect from them? You see. This is called giving of Dharma, the best gift, giving of Dharma. Right? For example, take yourself as an example. You feed yourself every day, right? You wash yourself almost every day. You clothe yourself. As much as possible, you are taking good care of yourself. You do exercise and all those things. So do you, after every time you feed yourself, do you expect thank you from yourself? Thank you, breakfast. Thank you, lunch. Thank you, dinner. Do you expect something like that? Do you say thank you to yourself? No need, because it's something that must be done. You are doing it, that's good enough. So similarly, when you help others also, it is something that needs to be done. Just like you take care of yourself, you need to take care of others also. And actually, it's amazing that you get this opportunity. Like in my case, for example, as I said, I'm nobody. But it is because of your interest, you're coming here and the Tushita Center organizing. I got this amazing opportunity. It's because of you, I hope I'm collecting some merit, you see. Honestly speaking, if there is a thing called merit, I should get some merit. Just you will also get merit, of course. So we should be thankful to each other, not just me, you see. So that way, right? Right, that way, yeah, okay. This is very powerful. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, May I always support the lives of all the boundless creatures. Creatures are countless, countless. We are, we are kind of dumbfounded when we talk about exploding human population at 8 billion. But if you compare it to other species, like the flies, our population is nothing. Our population is nothing. There's a story, ancient story, when a Tibetan Lama was faithfully, in accordance with the tradition, talking about the preciousness of human life, how difficult it is to achieve things like that. Then there was somebody who ridiculed him by saying that the Lama clearly did not visit China. Because even at that time, China, we had a huge population. So he said, the Lama is saying human life is very precious, very rare. It means he did not visit China. There's so many people, it's not rare. Now today, 8 billion people. So still, do you think human life is precious? What is your answer? Yes. Still precious, so many people, precious life, so many precious life. But precious life in many ways. One precious life in the sense all of this 8 billion human beings have this amazing human intelligence because of this. But in the real terms, whether you really become precious or not is dependent upon how will you use your precious human intelligence. If you use it properly, you really have that precious human life. If you misuse it, then the opposite of precious. What is the opposite of precious? Worthless? Yeah, something like worthless. Right? Okay. May I always support the lives of all the boundless creatures. Now next, having practiced all these preliminary practices, now next you are making a promise, you are making a commitment to cultivate that bodhicitta. Okay? Now you are saying that, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. Now the next line, that is the actual promise or actual commitment you are making. Verse 23. Just as the previous Sugatas or Buddhas gave birth to the bodhicitta, and just as they successfully dwelt in the bodhisattva practices, meaning that just as the Buddhas of the past first developed that aspirational bodhicitta, then the engaging bodhicitta, likewise for the sake of all that lives do I give birth to an awakening mind, and likewise shall I too successively follow the practices. So you are now making a commitment, making a promise, saying, just like Buddhas, I will also cultivate both the bodhicittas, aspirational bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. Okay? So therefore, here normally you can then cultivate bodhicitta, You think about making this commitment to yourself, okay? And then it's not enough to cultivate that bodhicitta. And having cultivated that bodhicitta, you need to practice. So normally if you want to cultivate bodhicitta, then you cultivate bodhicitta best by reciting these 2 verses. Okay? So you can also, at least you can think that I will, try my best to cultivate these 2 bodhicittas, aspirational bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. Now having developed that aspirational bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta, having made that promise, you made a great decision. You really made a big promise. This is amazing. I'm able to do this here in Dharamsala. Something like that. So then the next verse is you express your joy. You let others, develop that appreciation, and you yourself develop this appreciation. I mean, this is like a dream that I'm able to cultivate this bodhicittas. In order to further increase it from now on, those with discernment who have lucidly seized an awakening mind in this way should highly praise in the following manner. Now you're almost like singing, dancing, that you got this wonderful opportunity to develop this bodhicitta. It is the supreme medicine that cures the world's disease. It is the tree that shelters all beings, wandering and tired on the path of conditioned existence. It is the universal bridge that leads to freedom from unhappy states of birth. It is the dawning moon of the mind that dispels the torment of the disturbing conceptions. It is the great sun that finally removes the misty ignorance of the world. It is the quintessential butter from the churning of the milk of Dharma. So that means when you churn the milk repeatedly, then what you get is, and what you hope to get, and what you get is butter. So similarly, when you chant the meaning of all the teachings of the Buddha, then the one thing that you get like a butter is bodhicitta. So that's what I said earlier. Bodhicitta is really the heart of the Buddha's teaching. Okay. For all those guests traveling on the path of conditioned existence who wish to experience the boundariness of happiness, this will satisfy them with joy and actually place them in supreme bliss. Today, in the presence of all the protectors, I invite the world to be guests at a festival of temporary and ultimate delight. May God, demigods, and all be joyful. So you are now so happy, you are throwing a party. You are throwing a party and saying today in the presence of the protectors, I invite the world to be the guest. That means now having cultivated bodhicitta, you consider everybody as your important guests. Now, ordinarily, if you invite number of guests, and then having invited, if you don't give them anything to eat, anything to drink, then that's improper. So similarly, you are generating bodhicitta means you are inviting everybody, saying that I will be of benefit to you, I will serve you, I will be patient with you, I will not get angry with you, things like that. That's what you are committing when you cultivate bodhicitta. Now, having made that promise, if you violate it, no, it's not a good thing. But when I say this, I do not mean you will be completely successful on the very first day. But the intention to continuously practice that must be there. Because you have now invited everybody as your friend, as your guest. So you have taken this responsibility to help all of them. So you are saying, be my guest, enjoy, be happy. Okay. So this completes chapter number 3. Chapter number 4 is conscientiousness. It's very difficult to translate something into another language, You may be very close, but you cannot be absolutely, correct and same. So people use so many words: conscientiousness, heedfulness, carefulness. They use so many different words. I'm not so sure which one is correct. But here, the meaning of this Tibetan word "pagyu" means that you should be kind of careful so that when it comes to doing good things, you should be ready to do it. When it comes to doing bad things, you should be hesitant and not doing it. So that is kind of carefulness or conscientiousness. That is the meaning, Bhagavad. There are three very important things which Shantideva will mention here repeatedly. One is mindfulness. Second is, that second also I am not so sure which word is correct. People use the word guarding alertness. Guarding or, So mindfulness means you should remember the object of your practice. Make your mind stay on that object. Guarding alertness means when the mind is not staying on the object, whether it's staying on the object or not, there should be somebody to watch. And not only watching the mind, whether it's staying on the object or not, you should have a third practice where you see whether you are doing good things or bad things. So this is the third one, conscientiousness. Now, having cultivated that bodhicitta, it's important for you to be very careful about what you should adopt and what you should discuss, what you should discard. So always watchful, that is what he's saying. Having firmly seized the awakening mind in this way, conquerors' children must never waver. Always should they assert themselves to never stray from the practice. Meaning that now you become a son of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva, as we discussed earlier. So therefore it is now duty not to give up that bodhicitta. And you should always cultivate it properly in terms of preparation, in terms of actual practice, in terms of conclusion, and you should not give it up even at the cost of your life. So there's the meaning. Having firmly seized the awakening mind in this way. Firmly means you will not give it up. Always should conquerors' children must never waver. Now never waver means having cultivated such an important mind, you should not get distracted due to laziness. Laziness, there are many types. Laziness of not doing, laziness of procrastination, laziness of seeing yourself as incapable or inferior. Laziness is not just not doing. Laziness is not just doing. Lethargy. Another laziness is to say that it is very important to be done, but I am not intelligent. I can't do this. I have no time. I can't do this. That is also laziness. And then there is a third laziness which is called procrastination. This is important. I have to do it, but next year. First I have to watch. Today I have to do it, but not now. First I have to watch a movie. Then after that maybe I get time to do it, So in this way you keep on postponing your practice. That is laziness. Another laziness is you get more attracted to inferior activities than the important ones. There's also laziness. Okay? So make sure that you do not get distracted by these different types of lazinesses, and you should know what are the commitments, the root, commitments and the branch commitments. Okay? And what is to be avoided, what is to be cultivated. So make sure that you don't transgress them. Okay? Always should they exert themselves to never stray or never transgress from their practices. Now he gives a little bit more extended explanation. Now you should be heedful. If I use the word, instead of conscientiousness, if I use the word heedfulness, now you should be heedful in terms of the precepts that you have to practice. Now, the first thing is make sure that your bodhicitta that you have cultivated does not decline. Now in this he says, in the case of reckless actions or of deeds not well considered, although a promise may have been made, it is fit to reconsider whether I should do them or not. Now he says, if it is, it's a reckless action, case of reckless or, an action which is not thought properly, or of deeds not well considered. Sometimes you say, okay, I'll do it in a reckless way, without properly considering. Right? Although a promise may have been made, then if it is a deed not well considered, a reckless action, then it is okay to reconsider whether I should do them or not. Because the decision you made was based on improper thinking. You made the decision in haste. Now you realize that, okay, I should not have made that promise. I should not have made this decision. You realize the mistake. So it's okay to reconsider, to change your decision, because you did not think properly. Now in the case of this cultivation of bodhicitta, it was not a reckless or, reckless action or a decision that is not thought well. But how can I ever withdraw from what has been examined by the great wisdom of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, and even many times by me myself? Now in this case of cultivation of bodhicitta, this is something that is highly praised by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You will recall what we read earlier, that the Buddhas thought for countless eons what is it that is most beneficial to suffering sentient beings. Then they all unanimously said, bodhicitta. So this is something that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, thought as the most important. And then on top of that, in my case also, I did not cultivate this bodhicitta or bodhisattva vow without properly thinking. I also thought about it many times. Right? So now, having made such a promise based on proper thinking, how can I now withdraw from that promise? If you do that, then you are promise breakers are, what are the remaining? Yeah. Huh? No. There is a saying, Western saying, promise breakers are anyway, not good. Promise breakers are not good. Okay, especially in this case, not good at all. But how can I ever withdraw from what has been examined by the great wisdom of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and even many times by me myself? If having made such a promise, I do not put it into action, then by deceiving every living beings that you have invited when you are having the party, right? When you are having the party, when you had just developed the Bodhisattva vow and Bodhicitta, you were in a very good mood. I saw you singing and dancing, and you sent me this great invitation, that you will forever be ready to help them. Now what happened? What are you doing now? If having made such a promise, I do not put it into action, then by deceiving every living being, you are now here, in this case, you are not deceiving just one person. But you are not just deceiving the human beings, you are deceiving all sentient beings. Even if you deceive one or two people, they say he is a fraud, he is a cheater, he is a cheater. Now in this case, what will you call it? The master of cheater, master of deceiver, or something like that. So if you do that, then what kind of rebirth shall I take? Because you have deceived and cheated all sentient beings. If it has been taught by the Buddha that those who do not give away the smallest thing which they once intended to give will take rebirth in a hungry ghost. Even such smaller promises, like as the Buddha said, that in the case of those people who first say to give something, it may be very small, but later on you don't give it, then they are born into the hungry ghost. To the unsurpassable bliss, that means you said, when you cultivate bodhicitta, you said, may I achieve Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. That is what you said. So now you are breaking your promise. So shall I take a happy rebirth? Is it possible then? No, not possible. Okay? Thus, for a bodhisattva, is the heaviest of downfalls. For should it ever happen, the welfare of all will be weakened. So that means if you break that promise, that vow, that is one of the heaviest infractions, heaviest downfall.
Have we skipped one?
Huh?
Or is it me?
What?
Have we skipped number 7?
Huh? Number 7. Only the omniscient can discern. Oh, yeah. Only the omniscient can discern the manner of the action of those who give up the awakening mind but are freed. It is beyond the scope of ordinary thought. No, this is, I missed this. So it's saying that if you make such a big promise and then break the promise, definitely you will go down. When stated this, then a question is asked, okay, then what about this? Only the omniscient can discern the manner of the action of those who give up the awakening mind but are freed. It is beyond the scope of ordinary. So there are some cases of, some stories where it says somebody broke that bodhisattva vow but also liberated. So what about this? This is the question that is being asked. Okay? So this is exceptional. In some cases, there may be many other, reasons. So this is saying that we cannot explain this. For example, there may be one individual who give up bodhicitta and then go into negative state of existence, then get liberated, and also helps others to get liberated. So there are such people. So how would you explain this? Okay, this is what it is saying. So this is answered by saying, so many different people commit so many different types of karma and actions. It is difficult to explain each and every fruit of different karmas. So there are some exceptional cases. Okay? This is explained by saying, for example, if you ask me why the feather of a peacock has so many colors, what are the causes for each of these colors? Right? So that is the reason, some non-Buddhist philosophers, they say there is, especially there is this Charvak, they are kind of hedonist, who say there is no past life, no future life, What you see is what you see. This is just law of nature. And then they come with this proposition saying that, for example, who painted the feather of the peacocks? Who sharpened the thorns? Nobody is sitting there sharpening each and every thorn. Nobody is sitting there, making a peel of all the peas that we eat, grains that we eat. Nobody is doing that. There's no creator. This is just law of nature. So in a challenging note, they say things like that. But here, this is explained in a different connotation by saying that nothing can come out of nothing. Everything is dependent on the causes and conditions. But the problem is we cannot explain each and everything in detail because of the subtlety of the causes and conditions. Okay? Yeah.
So what if an ordained nun or monk breaks their vows?
Huh?
So if an ordained monk or nun
Yeah.
break their vows or they take back their promise?
Promise breakers are better than shoemakers. Some people say something like that. Now I remember something like that. Not better than shoemakers or something like that. Anyway, of course you will earn that negative result, but not necessarily immediately going to hell or anything like that. Because breaking the vow is one thing, that there may be many good things you have done also, So it is, weighing the scale, which one is bigger. Okay, we stop here. Maybe questions, some questions, yeah. Yes.
In the vows, it says that it's okay to break. In fact, you have to break your vows if it's in good intention to help other people. And is that kind of what this is talking about as well? Like, in a circumstance where it would be beneficial for people for you to break a vow and you would prevent a greater harm, you must break the vow. That's part of your commitment.
Yeah, something like that. But as I said, it's really weighing the scale, which one is more beneficial, which one is more harmful, So Bodhisattva was ready to do everything when there is a bigger purpose, like that, yeah.
I find great wisdom and joy in the Buddhist teachings, especially in these teachings. Yet, I don't believe in reincarnation. So I was wondering if you have any advice for people like me, how to approach.
It's very easy. Tonight you go to bed, your reincarnation will get up tomorrow morning. You go to bed tonight, tomorrow you wake up, that's your reincarnation. I do think something like this, really. You are not exactly the same person. You have grown a little bit older, one night older or something like that. But you come back.
And yet I don't believe that I will be reincarnated as a different entity. I don't believe that I would be another being. I believe that after this body is expired,
Yeah.
I will be expired as well. So I was wondering if you have any advice.
That's why I give you some evidence, not only from the Buddhist teaching, but from the scientific findings. Now we have thousands and thousands of people who remember their past lives convincingly. So the example that is given for reincarnation is just like one butter lamp lighting another butter lamp. When you light one butter lamp with another butter lamp, what is it that goes to the next butter lamp? Or if you put a seal on the paper, you get that impression of the seal. But the seal does not disappear, but you get the impression. Or if I teach you to recite something, a prayer, which you don't know before, then after a while you will pick that up, you will be able to recite it. So what is it that is transmitted? So things are transmitted, something like this. Okay? Yeah.
Could one say that performing rituals and saying mantras is a form of attachment? And growing up in Hindu,
Form of attachment.
Form of attachment.
It's up to you.
If you have good intentions, then yes, I don't think it's a form of attachment.
Yeah, it's up to you. Whatever you do, ritual, whatever, you do it with attachment, without attachment, it is up to the performer, up to the person.
It is in Buddhism is to practice non-attachment.
Huh?
Isn't it taught to practice non-attachment to objects and things?
Yeah, it's beneficial if you do it without attachment. As I said, the most important is transforming your mind, changing your mind, removing the negative emotions. But that is not that easy. So there are other ways and manners, like if you perform certain ritual, you might find it healing for different people, you see. So that's a process. You need to show so many different ways of doing practice, so that gradually you lead on to the real practice. So this is a skillful method. But then also, much is dependent upon who performs the ritual. When they perform the ritual, the main subject matter that is recited there is bodhicitta, view of emptiness. But the one who is performing the ritual, only beating the drums and playing the cymbals, and no idea about bodhicitta, no idea about emptiness, then the effect is very limited. But then, having said this, some of the mantras are almost like mathematical formulas. When you use mathematical formulas, you solve many problems. How can you solve that? I don't know, but you can solve many problems. So similarly, and also, there is a statement which says the power of chemical substances is unthinkable. Chemical substances. Okay, in science, if you are somebody who is good in chemistry, you will know how powerful the chemical substances are. Unthinkable, very powerful. The power of mantra is unthinkable. The power of concentration is unthinkable. The power of karma is unthinkable. So there are many, many things which you can't really figure out how this works. For example, for a layperson like me, I can't figure out how they are able to transmit all these newses and people on the television screen. This is through the power of chemical substances. And how we can make aeroplane fly. Right? So when you know the right, technique, the formula, you can do so many things. You mix two different substances and then you make yourself disappear, Once I had a book which I read it a little bit. Yeah.
So could someone, instead of performing rituals or mantras, just meditate with a good heart and a good mind?
Yeah.
I've seen, growing up in a Hindu family, I've seen many people go to temples, on a weekly, daily basis, perform
Yeah.
these mantras, probably because they're fearing that if they don't perform these rituals, bad things will happen instead of good things in this life or the next
No,
life.
much of this is based on, blind faith. But sometimes even blind faith works. Because much is dependent upon your mental outlook, your attitude. If somebody comes to me thinking that Geshe Lhakdor has a very special spiritual power, I may have none, but because of his or her thinking, when he or she comes to me and seeks some, advice or even touch my clothes, things like that, they think, I'm blessed, And they get the benefit. It's like marriage. When you marry with somebody and then you make the decision, I got the most beautiful woman in the world. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful woman in the world, but it's your mental outlook, your attitude, it does the job. You see, this is how human mind functions. Really, therefore I am always saying your mental outlook is very, very important. If you keep on complaining, thinking about all the bad things, doing all the bad things, you will experience all the bad things.
Sir, the mind is seeking something because it is dissatisfied. The best case scenario that we can hope for is maybe in the future it can be satisfied. But by the time it is satisfied, it will also lose a lot of things it loves right now. So, how do we get around that problem?
And you think you lose many things, but because you have that grasping. If you don't have that grasping, there's nothing to lose. If you read the end of this book, I think in the wisdom chapter, there is a verse which talks about the 8 worldly concerns, where it says, if you understand emptiness properly, there's nothing to lose and nothing to gain. It will take some time to reach that stage and being able to think like that. But right now we think I lost this, that, because you have this very strong grasping, clinging. And if you don't have that grasping and clinging and have very realization, thinking that I came into this world with nothing, I go from this world, nothing, why so much fuss in between? And if you relax, relax your grasping, then you have it, okay, wonderful. If you don't have it, okay, wonderful. That will be there. Yeah, yeah.
You mentioned yesterday that there are deeper states, first ground, second ground, so on.
Yeah.
And there are teachers who have gone through those states,
Yes.
and only having gone through those states can they teach about them.
Yes.
But I feel like every practitioner is unique in what works for them and how they practice. And so is the path through those deeper states always going to be the same, or is it just kind of like a guide and you have to find your own way?
I think it is same, because truth is always same. Law of nature is always same. In the initial stage, how you go there may be a little bit different. But when you follow a systematic path, it's like, people have asked me this question, is it better to concentrate and study one religion or many religions? People have asked me this question. So my answer is, if you don't want to specialize, then it's okay to learn a little bit from Christianity, a little bit from Buddhism, a little bit from Hinduism, and talk about the good things of all the religion. That's good ordinarily. But if you want to specialize and really achieve that nirvana or enlightenment or heaven, whatever, then it is important to specialize. So don't be a kindergarten student. Be a PhD student. When you do the PhD, you don't take many subjects, So this is not to say that you are not looking down upon other religion, but you are specializing, So there it is important to have one dedicated line. Of course, you can draw inspirations from other people, but there should be that national highway. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, question. I want to know more about law of nature, because when I look at the nature, there is suffering, there's death, there's reproduction, and why Buddhism just condemn reproduction like sex, but just pay lots of attention to death.
No. Buddhism is never saying don't have sex. Buddhism never says don't get married. Buddhism is only saying if you want to dedicate, then you have to stop many other things, just like specialization. You see, even in ordinary level, when you go to college, university, there are certain rules and regulations to be followed. You can't say I want to get the university degree, but I want to continue to stay in my home. These days, of course, maybe online and other things, but generally speaking, you have to go to class, you have to go to school, you have to go to army, wear the uniforms. This is like that, uniforms. If you join army uniform. If you join college uniform. So like that. So what we are saying is see the things that is there. So when you see the law of nature and the things that is there, you see suffering, you see happiness also, you see fragility, you see impermanence, you see emptiness, you see so many things, right? Then as a question arises, do you want happiness, do you want suffering? Then naturally, as we all, not signed, but we all made a promise, that we all want happiness. So then, what are the causes of happiness? You don't want suffering, then what are the causes of suffering? Eliminate them. Don't just sit there saying, I don't want suffering. Don't just sit there saying, I want happiness. If you want happiness, you need to work, perspire. If you want to become billionaire, you have to work. Right? So that's what it is saying. So law of nature is not necessarily, but when I say law of nature, I'm talking about a bigger thing, how the universe functions, how the nature functions, how the trees function, how the water function, how human beings function, all of them put together, Then you will find when you see all of this many facets of nature together, then you will see that it is the law of nature that things, grow and flourish when they are in harmony. Whether it's human being or any other sentient being or tree, things grow when the needed causes and conditions are in harmony. Things fall and decay when the contributing factors, causes and conditions are not in harmony. Right? So with that clue from the nature, we should find out in our life also what is it that will help us remain in harmony and what is it that will help us flourish. Then you find compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta, wisdom, understanding, emptiness, so on and so forth, that will help you live in harmony and flourish. Contrarily, if you continue to cultivate anger, jealousy, hatred, then maybe for a few days or a few months you may reap some benefit by cheating other people, by threatening other people, by bullying other people, but how long you are going to do that, I mean, take the example of those who are in conflict right now. Now, those people who thought that I'll kill everybody and get the victory, now they themselves are experiencing difficulty. Everywhere you can see that, you see. So that is the result of wrong decision, wrong action. Okay? Yeah.
You spoke earlier about how you can see like being a voluntary teacher as a bad thing, but then I also feel that Buddhism is kind of like encouraging you to pass on the teachings to other people. So I'm just curious about like at what point do you draw the line that it's okay to be passing on these teachings?
Well, not so clear, but what you're saying is, shall I share my expertise?
Like earlier you spoke a little bit about voluntary teachers and how that you saw this as like a negative thing and like trying to make money or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
But then Buddhism is also trying to encourage you to
Yes,
pass
I
it on.
got it. Voluntary I used used in a different context. Generally, voluntary is good. Voluntary means you're not getting money, you're not asking for money, you simply want to help. That is good. That is good. We should do that. But then I use this word voluntary in a more unhealthy sense, that people who, look like volunteering, but their object is to get themselves name, fame, and money. So I was discouraging that kind of voluntary activities. Okay? Yeah.
So the ultimate truth is the nature of all phenomena.
Yeah.
So it's like realizing emptiness, no?
Yes,
So
emptiness
how
is...
can you have ultimate truth and emptiness at the same time? How you prove the emptiness of emptiness?
Ultimate truth means emptiness. Emptiness means ultimate truth. So all kinds of phenomena, their ultimate nature is emptiness. So similarly, emptiness is also part of that family of big phenomena. There's no exception. So therefore, emptiness also has no inherent existence. Therefore, we talk about emptiness of emptiness. Same with any phenomena. They are being designated, they are produced by their causes and conditions, they are dependent on other factors. So therefore, there's nothing that has inherent independent existence. That is the ultimate reality and nature of all phenomena at the end of the day. Now the beauty of this understanding is, when you have a very good, hopefully precise understanding and a possible realization of emptiness, then as I said, there is nothing to gain, nothing to lose. Then no need to unnecessarily run hither and thither. Right? Some time back I was reading a book, not a Buddhist book, other book, where it give a beautiful example, which I think is we can use it for this understanding of emptiness, how it benefits. I explained this earlier actually, how by understanding emptiness can reduce attachment, anger, jealousy. I explained already. But another probably more convincing example that I can give is, when Buddha was asked, because it's difficult to understand emptiness. So therefore somebody asked the Buddha, can you give me an example of emptiness? Then the Buddha said, space. Space. What is space? Space is mere absence of restriction, mere absence of obstruction. Space means mere absence of obstruction, resistance, right? So emptiness also means mere absence of independent existence. Now in the case of this example, space, that the beautiful thing that I read in that other book was that writer says that when the birds fly, all kinds of birds fly in the space, but none of these birds build a nest in the space, do they? They fly, they enjoy it, they use it, but they will never say, this part of space belongs to me, I'll build a nest here. So similarly, when you understand emptiness, you will not build the nest, this is mine. This is theirs. Let us fight, So that is the purpose of understanding emptiness. Okay?
We have another online question also.
Mm-hmm.
Teachings also from far distance. Now, may I ask, please, how can we know if actually any activity or action that we are doing is really, let's say, objectively out of care and for the benefit of the others that we are doing it, or it is really generated by self-cherishing and clinging and all of the other things?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's always both, I don't know.
Yeah. So therefore, the important thing to understand is Buddha is never saying that you will be able to do this practice perfectly. He's always saying, do as much as you can. Do as much as you can. So therefore, when it comes to benefiting others also, as much as possible, you should have a correct motivation that this is not for me, I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this for others. Now, even when you say things like that, there may be an inkling of cherishing attitude somewhere down in the line, but don't worry about that. don't worry about that. Okay. So at least you are not obviously, intentionally, helping others to get that benefit. So that's good enough.
Now, may I ask just something related to yesterday's session, because there was no time, a small thing. You see, you said that it's both, I mean, one can, I don't know, have a nice food, but also be aware that, tomorrow we will die. I remember, maybe you can clarify, I remember many, many years ago, one professor said that if you do any work of art, doesn't matter if it is a painting or sculpture or a building or anything, your state of mind has to be very similar to what you said. I mean, think that what you are doing will be in front of your eyes, I don't know, at your bedroom for the next 100 years, but at the same time, be aware that you can die tomorrow. And, when you spoke about this insight yesterday, I thought this is very similar, and I could never absolutely understand, maybe the first one, yes, but not, what is the connection?
That it depends upon different teacher. Okay, if you're not a Buddhist, but an art master who is very dedicated to the art, then he would tell you, as you are already saying, that he would tell you that you should appreciate art even when you're, at the last moment of death, continue to do the art or think about it, because that is their profession. That way. But in Buddhism, in that way, but in Buddhism, the purpose is not to just do your profession, the purpose is to become completely enlightened. So for that, just doing the art will not remove your anger, not remove your jealousy, not remove your attachment. So therefore, it is important to purify your negative emotions, not just art. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, here.
It's about the first day, but I didn't have a chance to ask.
Yeah.
It's about these three funny terms that we called Shantideva.
Yeah.
He said he was useless, that he was only sleeping.
Yeah.
What were the names we gave him?
Busuk.
And there were two others.
Busuk is the name that is given to him because the only thing that he did was what?
Eat, sleep.
Eating, sleeping, strolling, walking around. Bhukta, sukta, susta, Now I myself don't remember.
Bhukta, Susta, I think there was a third one.
There's third one, yes. I'll find it.
Detail, but I like it.
You want to become something like that? Bhukta, Sutta. You want to
follow his every
you
step.
Bhukta, Susta,
Susta.
Kunsiva.
Kunsiva.
Ah.
Okay. Thank you.
Bhukta, Susta, Kunsiva. Okay, stop here. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Thank you.